For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare to slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.
Exactly, and the Epic of Gilgamesh is what, you know what an epic is? An epic is a dramatic literature poem. It's a story they made up. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest pieces of literature, is just that, literature. The same way the Black Renaissance, you know, the Black poets had their literature. What they say isn't real, it's poetic stories. So the Epic of Gilgamesh is just that. That's why you can find it in another text, but you can't find it confirmed in the text they claim it comes from. Lilith is a story made up.
Hold on, real quick.
What's your guys' take on Lilith?
Hold on, real quick. Are you familiar with what culture or what nation the Epic of Gilgamesh comes from?
I tap into the tablets like on other things, but I just came to learn about more of the Israel.
No, I hear you. I'm saying, if we're saying that the story of Lilith
right.
is rooted or is found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, we have to understand and we have to discuss then what nation does the Epic of Gilgamesh come from, right? Okay. Because if we understand how the records of the Bible came into play, and then someone is telling us that a character is associated with these records, but it comes from a time period before these records were even written, right? Then we have to figure out a way in which these things even correlate with each other first before we start entertaining the concept of whether or not it's real, right? For example, this is the point that I'm making.
It was. I just only threw that out because the Denai or the daughter, there's not much said about her. And the same thing with Lilith, you hear about it, but not much said really too much about it. That's why I was like, another Lilith situation where you're trying to wipe the out the picture.
Totally get you. But even when, like I said, when we start to consider things that are true or consider things that are even relevant, we have to understand where they were introduced and how they even correlate with the text or with the records itself. We look at these things as records, not just some, I always say this is not just some random book that fell out of the sky. This is a book of records that were at one point in time in history collected and put together. They were not always together. So our understanding of the original records of the first 5 books of Moses, where we even learn about Adam, this information was given to Moses. After the time of Babylon, our records were destroyed by the Babylonians. And then the records were reintroduced to us by a man by the name of Ezra that came and played during the Persian and the Mede time period and empire and era. So if Lilith was a thing that was relevant, it would be in one of those 2 accounts that both Moses received from God and that Ezra received from God. Right. 2 opportunities Lilith is never mentioned. Right. Not to mention the Epic of Gilgamesh predates Moses by hundreds of years. Yep. So, and the Epic of Gilgamesh goes back to the ancient civilization of Sumer. So Sumer is not directly connected to the Israelites for them to have a better understanding or a better breakdown of what God literally gave to Moses, right? Which gave us our understanding of our history and our inception. This is how we get the understanding of Adam. Adam, the story of Adam does not come from Adam. It doesn't even come from Adam's time frame. It starts with Moses, you know what I mean, which is thousands of years after Adam, thousands of years after Noah, and then we get it again with Ezra. So with that, Lilith, we would never even entertain Lilith because it's just not even a part of our records at no point in time, nor is it even relevant.
That's why I asked about Dinah specifically. That's why I asked, is that another situation?
Totally understand. Got you.
That's why I asked that.
And then that's why I was going to tie that back in, because you may mention that's why you brought it up. Tying that back in, there are a lot of women in the Bible, there's a lot of women throughout history of Israel that are not mentioned because their contribution to our nation, how it turned out, the direction that we went in, it really didn't have a big impact on us. So it's a lot of people that are not mentioned at all. Our records reflect the people that had a major influence on our nation.
From the lens of the story that's being told.
Well, like the brother said, from the lens of the storyteller, right? So when we got Isaiah, it's somebody that was influential and also important for us to receive the word of God during certain circumstances, during the time of Babylon, during the time of the Assyrian captivity, XYZ. These are people, we have records of people that were writing down the things that they were going through in life because it was important to share their encounter with the Most High to then pass it on to our people, right? According to as they tell the story, it's like, okay, I'm receiving word that something needs to be done, which is to go tell our people how they need to turn back from their wickedness and then come back to the Most High God. So this is where you start to see all of, key players, important personnel being mentioned in the records, and that's how we put it together. So somebody like Lilith, when people say, "Oh, we don't talk about Lilith because it's spoken of in the Epic of Gilgamesh," let's just entertain the idea that Lilith was there. What do we need to know Lilith for? The lineage of
only importance because Adam's first wife. That's why it's important.
What I'm saying, Adam's first wife, but the whole reason we even got the understanding of Adam is to understand who we came from. There were plenty of people during the time of Adam that the Bible don't even mention. Matter of fact, the serpent was mentioned. It didn't even get a dude a name. That was a man.
No name, no location, where he's
It
from.
don't even get no name. It just calls him a serpent because it was to describe, it was an adjective to describe the type of manner that they operated in, right? A very subtle human, a very subtle being, right? A subtle creature. Right. He was more subtle than all the creatures of the field. Saying all of that to say, in our records, we're dealing with the most important people. Right. For example, and this is where we start to see people are mentioned based off of the relevance. When you read the story of Ruth, right? Ruth came in and served the purpose to continue the lineage of the seed of David. Or excuse me, this is who David comes through. To continue that line, that royal seed line, because it was ultimately going to be prophesied that through the loins of David, the Messiah was going to come. So Ruth becomes important because she was influential and she contributed to the messianic line being preserved. But guess what? As soon as Ruth had that baby, you don't hear about Ruth ever again in her own book, or in a book, records that's named after her.
He's off on kind of a cliffhanger.
It literally stopped. She has this baby. Ruth was your ancient surrogate. She had this baby for her master Naomi. Naomi takes the baby and raises it out as her own. The same way with Bilhah and Zilpah. Jacob's two wives, servants, right? Rachel and Leah had Zilpah and Bilhah. The only time you hear about them is when Laban gave them to her, to the daughters, and then when they had the babies. After that, you don't hear nothing from them. But the babies that they had is reckoned to Jacob's first two wives because it's based off of the relevance. They're mentioned because through them comes certain tribes. After that, you don't hear about them no more. Same thing with Ruth. Okay. So even if Lilith was relevant, or excuse me, not relevant, was a thing, where does she become relevant? The earth comes through Eve. The earth comes through Noah and his 3 sons and their wives. Abraham is a covenant that's made with. Isaac was the chosen seed. Jacob is a chosen line. Boom. Now we get this whole entire nation. So when we talk about Dinah, and there was really nothing to be talked about with Dinah no more after that. You know what I mean? How you feel about the Israelites?
I stopped by the last time they was popped out here. I was coming to ask questions to learn about it. I was understanding it's more kind of just preaching just more your lineage. You're not preaching the Bible specifically Christianity.
Hell no.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a thing of Christianity. We are rooted in the Bible, but we're trying to reestablish to our people where we come from, and then establish the responsibility that we have to the Most High. Or I always try to be objective, right? I know what I believe in, and I don't want to try to superimpose that on the people, so I try to make it logical and objective, right? So with that, our position is, like I said, reintroducing our people to who we are, and then the responsibility that we have to fulfill with now knowing who we are. And who we say we are, of course, is the people of the children of Israel, And the children of Israel has a responsibility to serve God. There's a way in which we serve God. We can't just serve God the way that we want. We have to serve him in truth and in sincerity, right? And which is crazy, because the Hispanic brother that just walked by, when you pulled up, the brother asked him, he's like, do you worship God? He says, yeah. He says, how? He says, in spirit and in truth. You don't hear people say that. So when he said that, I was like, that was dope. We got to worship the Most High in spirit. We got to acknowledge the spirit. We got to recognize the spirit. We got to take hold and hopefully we are given that spirit, right, to help influence us through certain hardships, through times of adversity and affliction, to make it through those things. That's where the spirit comes into play. So we must possess it, but then we also have to establish the worship of God in truth, which is walking after his law, statutes, and commandments, being his chosen people. And because of our downfall, it's a place that we now have to work back to. So we're not even starting at zero right now like we were when the Lord brought us out of Egypt. We're not even starting at zero right now. We're starting below the zero line. We're below sea level. And we got to work our way back up to that even place, right? Which is, get that, what was that, 1 Peter 2:5? We got to make a reasonable sacrifice. Get that also in, what is that, Romans 12? Romans 10. 12 is you were Gentiles. 2 and 5, lively stones. Bring it out.
This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house.
So we have to reestablish this spiritual house, which is bringing the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, the true children of Israel, back together. Right now, we're stones that are scattered and spread apart as a broken temple. You see what I'm saying? So as we bring this understanding back into our people then fulfill the responsibilities that are given to the children of Israel. Then we receive the Spirit from the Most High, and then we become these lively stones. Read it again.
Ye also, as lively stones,
we become these lively stones, read,
are built up a spiritual house.
And then we rebuild that spiritual house. That's the togetherness. That's the love. That's the level of respect and the reverence that we have for one another, right? Get that for me. Loving your brother whom you loving the Most High who you don't see, but then you can't love your brother who you do see, right? It's a level of togetherness that we have to have, man, because it says that the commandments hang on serving the Most High with all of your heart and loving your neighbor as you love yourself. Coming back into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is how we start to love ourselves. Once I love myself, I know how to love you. If I don't know, and I'm gonna tell you this, man, I just growing up, man, certain things in life and experiences start to reveal into you. It's like we all want to love. You know what I'm saying? You got your little girlie, you got mom, you got dad, you got siblings. We all have that desire to love, but we just don't know how. And I tell people, I said, love is a skill. It's a skill. And if we understand and we approach love like it's a skill, then guess what? Now I have the mindset that if it's a skill, then that means I have the ability to learn how to do it. And then once I have the ability to learn how to do it, I can grade love on a scale of good and bad. You see what I'm saying? It's like, you know how to ride a bike. Are you good at it? Are you decent? Are you moderate, mediocre, whatever? You see how it's levels? I know some people pop the wheelie and they can ride up and down this whole thing on one wheel. They ain't even got a front wheel. You see what I'm saying? That's a skilled bike rider. But people like me and you, it's like, I know how to stay up. I'm all right. If we looked at love that way and somebody literally told you, it's like, my love it's all right. Now you look at it and you tell yourself where you want to be, and then you have to go and put work in to do that, right? And I'm going to show you even in the scriptures how it literally demonstrates that. It's a skill. And I'm going to tell you this. I learned this in couples therapy, right? How do I know that? How do I associate it? Because communication is a skill. Listening is a skill. That's a form of communication. Understanding, that's a form of communication. All of these things are skills. We talk to people as if they're just supposed to just get what we're saying. It's like, no. It takes competence. It takes intelligence. It takes a level of a wherewithal Sometimes you introduce something to people and they say, damn, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
To consider it when you're telling it to me, and then be able to connect the dots to then understand.
I done have my little life period where it's like you learn so much and then you get into that space. You only learn that, so you think kind of like everybody knows. Like, hold on, you feel bad.
As easy as it was for you to learn it, you think it's just as easy for other people. And then what happens, this is other skills we pick up on, you start expecting yourself out of other people. And then what we realize, I can't do that. Because what I eat don't make you, feel me? So when you start type shit, so when you start putting this stuff together, it's like, man, these are skills. And guess what? If I could look at a woman, or if I could look at my brother, if I could look at my mom and dad and realize, yo, you're just not that good at love. I can't then hold it against you until I bring it to your attention. And then what I'm actually holding you against is that you have no desire to learn or to get better at love. That's what I'm mad at you about. Not that you don't love me properly or that you can't. It's that you don't want to get better at love. You don't want to work on your love, right? Did you play sports?
Yeah.
What you play?
Football.
You play football. What position you play?
I play everything, but mainly running back safety.
Mainly running back and safety. Imagine as a running. Imagine, let's say you play quarterback, right? You couldn't get the 3-step drop down. You know what I'm saying? Because you recognize this is a skill that you got to work on every day. So if you realize that, let's say not you a quarterback, but you're a quarterback. Let's say your quarterback had to work on some things. If you look up and just realize, man, bro, you don't work on your game. When we at practice, you coming in late, you talking to all of the girlies. When we in a weight room, you doing something else. You don't want to get better. Because these things are skills. We know the more you work on it, the more you running your routes, the more you get into your drop step, getting into the pocket, you get more comfortable, and then the results happen from there. Right? Let's get these scriptures real quick. What I have you holding? Lively Stones, bring that out.
Look at 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. Ye also as lively stones.
As lively stones. Again, all of us as the children of Israel are stones that collectively coming together, we make up the temple or the house of God. So right now, we're not those lively stones because we're dispersed. Again, bringing this understanding back into our people is what brings us together. And that's how we build up this spiritual house. Read.
Are built up a spiritual house.
Go ahead.
And holy priesthood.
And then a holy priesthood. The priesthood are the people that go and minister the word of God. In order for you to minister, you have to have a level of understanding. This is what we're trying to bring back into our people. Because our people are destroyed for what? A lack of knowledge. Right? Why? Because we have rejected knowledge. And that knowledge is talking about the laws of God. It says when we reject the laws of God, God then rejects us. So we got to, again, starting below the line, we got to get back to ground zero. Right? Go ahead.
To offer up spiritual sacrifices.
To then offer up spiritual sacrifices. As we bring this royal priesthood back, then we can offer up spiritual sacrifices, because physically the Levites in the physical temple was the one doing the sacrifice. Now we're in a time period where it's a spiritual thing. What's a spiritual sacrifice? Denying your flesh. All of the things that you know you want to do that's counterproductive to building this nation up, those are the things that you have to put to the side. And I'm going to tell you this, they might not even be technically wrong or evil. See what I'm saying? Like, for example, grudges. We can't hold grudges, but there is a process that we can go through to where it's like, all right, man, I'm cutting this dude off. It says, if me and you have an ought, I got to come to you and we got to discuss it privately. If we can't resolve our issue privately, we go and get 2 or 3 witnesses. After 2 or 3 witnesses, we now got to bring it before the whole congregation. If we still can't reconcile at that point, it says I can shake my hands and wipe off the dust with you at that point. But guess what? The text also tells me I should be prepared as a brother, as someone returning back to God. I should be prepared to reconcile or to forgive you 70 times 7 and some more. That's way more than the 3-step process. So although I'm justified after the 3-step process to cut you off, I then have to sacrifice whatever pride, whatever ego, whatever I feel like I stand for, to recognize we're better together than we are apart. So I got to be always ready. I might not talk to you for a minute, but if I run into you, bro, what's up, man? Can we have a conversation again? Are we still in the same place? All right, bro. But if I run across you again, it's like, what's up? You never know what this person is going to leave and go experience. Remember what I said earlier. Love is a skill. You got to grow. You got to develop. And sometimes you got to introduce an idea to someone for it to then register and make sense in their mind. You feel me? And like I said, it might not be me telling it to you. It might be me and you getting into something and you don't get it. But then when you get into it with somebody else, you're now in my shoes and you say, this is the very thing that this dude been saying to me for the longest. Now I get it. Now the next time we cross paths, we can have that conversation and we can reconcile. And that's the patience and that's the love that we actually have. And we develop that through the Spirit of God. All praise to the Most High. Keep reading.
Acceptable to God by Jesus Christ.
Acceptable to God by Jesus Christ, because again, that concept of just being patient and being forgiving, being long-suffering with your brother is something that Christ came and reintroduced to us, right? Go ahead.
Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded.
And that chief cornerstone again is who the world calls Christ. He came and introduced concepts to us, reintroduced concepts to us for us to be able to understand. He came and became an actual living example of how we should be. Even on the cross, he's expressing the level of forgiveness and the level of love that he has for his people, although they are destroying and turning against him. That's how we have to be right now. Like I said, the three-step process, although at that point justified, we better together, man, and we got to go above and beyond now and emphasize that to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? I always tell people, man, like understanding and learning your own threshold, and then asking yourself, or figuring out your own threshold is figuring out the cost, right? What can I tolerate? What can I afford? Mentally and spiritually. And also physically. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, standing out, like I couldn't take ice baths. I couldn't do it. Oh, I could not do it.
I haven't even done it. I'm still scared.
You feel me? So it's like, what's so crazy is that was my physical threshold. I couldn't go past that. But mentally, some people look at me sometimes and they be like, I don't know how you sit here and talk to people so long and they're so frustrated and they act like they don't get it. It's like I have more of a larger mental threshold than I do physically. Saying all of that to say is that once we figure that out, that's the cost of it. If it took me to take an ice bath to serve God, am I willing to do that? If it took me again to continuously be patient with my brother, am I able to do that? And once you figure out the cost of it, you sit down and you consider to yourself, am I willing to pay it? Luke 14, it says, if a man goes to build a tower, he must sit down and count the cost of what it's going to take. Because you will be ignorant to then start. And then you get halfway done and realize, damn, I don't even have enough to finish this tower. And not only are you now a failure because you've quit, but then everybody that's been watching you go and build this tower is now laughing and ridiculing you because you didn't have enough to finish. And that's a lot of times what we got to do within this walk with the Most High. We got to really understand what it's going to take to fulfill it. And again, it's going to take for us to put our pride aside, all this ego, me feeling like, nah, that me bad, and I don't give a damn. I'm standing on business. I'm standing on principle. All of that business and all that principle only furthers your affliction because it's pushing you further away when you need to be being brought together. If we are operating on the same principles. If it's a principle difference, totally different story. But I still got to be long-suffering with you. Because what you don't understand today is something that you can't understand tomorrow, and I always have to be ready as a brother to share that with you, right? What I have you holding? What's up, Jacoby? Just sit back and listen real quick. I'm going to get to you, you know what I'm saying, when I'm done answering this brother's questions, all right? For sure.
Romans 12 and the first time.
Bring it out.
Romans chapter 12 from the top. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God,
read,
that you present your bodies a living sacrifice.
You present your bodies a living sacrifice. Again, you got to count the cost and ask yourself, am I willing to go to the lengths? Am I willing to pay the cost that God is requiring for me to serve him and to be in his good graces, right? Revelation 2 and 10. Quick, right? Because the Lord let us know. He told us this is something that is necessary. And again, we understand the example of Christ. Christ coming on the scene, he knew exactly what he had to do. He's walking around here dealing with a whole bunch of hard-head dudes that don't want to listen, that want to deny him, though he's showing miracles, right? Christ is, this man is pulling rabbits out of his, I mean, he's like, what more do I need to do to show y'all that I'm him, that I'm real, that this is for real? For them to deny it, he still got to go and get on that cross for him. After they made up a lie to get him there. After the man that they delivered him up to kill and persecute him, the man that they delivered him to is trying his best to say, I don't want to have no parts of this. I don't find no fault in this man. But if y'all want him dead, let me know. Kill him. If I kill this man, the blood is on y'all. I don't want no parts of this. Let the blood be upon us. And he's listening and watching all of this. And he still goes up on that cross, gets nailed to it and says, hey, Lord, Father, forgive them. Why? They don't even know what they're doing. Why? Because we're destroyed for a lack of knowledge and that ignorance, because we would rather reject it. But as Christ did, he still suffered them because he understood and knew the things that they're going through, the things that they're going to go through, the ways in which they're going to be persecuted should serve as an example of what I've been telling them, and maybe at that point, they'll understand it and get it. Ultimately, our nation will, but it's gonna be through a grueling, filtering, and purging process. And that's gonna happen in so many different ways, as it has already been happening. So hopefully, again, when we meet brothers like you, that has an ear to hear and has the knowledge to learn and the courage to come up and ask questions to learn, we looking for that one sheep that went astray more than the 99 that's already here, right? But counting that cost and understanding what it's going to take. Bring it out, Revelation 2 and 10.
Look at Revelation chapter 2, verse 10.
Go ahead.
Fear none of those things.
So one thing we got to do when we counting and considering the cost and what we can afford, we got to get rid of that fear. Sometimes we put the value of our current life over the bigger picture. It's called being a martyr.
What's your definition of fear? How would you describe that to somebody?
In this context, right? Fear none of those things what you're going to suffer, meaning don't try to refrain from those things. Don't try to avoid them. If this is what comes with serving me, accept it. Don't fear it. Don't run from it. Okay? Like I said, because it's the term is called being a martyr. If me and you, I'm explaining to you. If me and you being in an army together, right? And we're on a mission, we going to go try to get bin Laden, right? Saving Private Ryan, but we're going to get bin Laden. We're on a mission together, right? And somebody pops, throws a grenade, and your back is turned and it's right there. I watched it in the air. Ting, 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 ting. What do? Sit there and say, what's your name, bro? Eli, I'm Taz, right? If I look and say, oh, my bad, Eli. Wow. Sorry. Or do I go jump on it?
Or just holler at dude and let him know it's done.
Hey, listen. Hey, I'm going to tell you this. You see what I'm saying? Listen. We ain't got time. By the time I say, Eli, and you turn and say, Hunters, and I say, look, and you go, I'm talking about this, your face is blown off, but it ain't even go, we don't even have that much time. I got to think fast. I got to hop on. You see what I'm saying? I got to hop on the grenade to preserve and save your life, right? It's a sacrifice. It's a reasonable sacrifice. It's honorable. They give high recognition and medals of honor for things like that, even in our current government. Why? Because those are valiant things to do, right? So how much more could I do for the Heavenly Father, right? How much more could I do for Heavenly Father to do what? To die to serve Him. If I'm willing to die for my fellow army men, for the greater purpose of trying to win the war, how much more am I willing to die for the Heavenly Father so our entire nation can be preserved and saved, right? So it says, fear none of those things which you shall suffer, because you're going to suffer things because people don't like what you're bringing to the table and how it disrupts their agenda. Us bringing our people to the understanding that they're Israelites by proxy, almost by default, makes them anti a lot of things. And if we made all Black Hispanic people anti-oppression, anti-mistreatment, anti-misinformation, anti-miseducation, then we'd all come together collectively and hold the American people accountable for how they've been mistreating us. And then we wouldn't allow it, right? What's going on?
I'm sorry for everything.
What do you mean?
I'm a Marine.
You're a Marine?
And I'm sorry for everyone's pain.
For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach gives that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach gives that order.